gameplay. This evening we are going to be forging a pair of rivet tongs, or chainmaker's tongs, or tooling tongs. They're kind of a multi-purpose thing that you can use them for, but essentially they have a hook like this. Hopefully that's all in good shot and you guys can see that. And the thing I use the most for is holding short tooling like so. And I don't do any rivet work, so I don't usually use them for holding rivet tongs, so I call them a tooling tong, but they're most commonly known as rivet tongs. And that's coming from the fact that they can hold a rivet like that, edgeways, or the head of a rivet, if you will. So that's what we're going to be making this evening. And yeah. Who's in the chat now?
All right, welcome. Let's see, we got 19 so far. Royal Crow Forge, hello.
Royal Crow, good to have you here.
Graham Pupper.
Yep.
Len Blacksmith.
Good to have everyone here.
Charles Nowitzki, Ben Toombs, Brian Newley.
All right. So tonight I'm gonna let everybody kind of funnel in for a second, let everybody get situated, and then I'll go over the measurements and things that we're going to be using. Hopefully you can see that. Can you see the forge over here, Jess?
I can rotate a little bit. There we go.
Okay. So I've got the measurements written up here in metric of what it is, except for what I started with, which is 1/4x1 flat stock, or 6 mil by 25 mil. So I do have it in metric up here for us imperial people. It's 10 inches, 2.5 inches, and an inch is the layout marks for this. I'm making these the same that I've made all my other tongs. Not all of my tongs, but all of the tong videos that I've put out so far have been using the 1/4x1 flat stock method with the pre-drawn reins. So that's what I'll be doing here tonight, with an extra special treat that these have a bit of high carbon in them, so I do not know what these are actually made of. This is a piece of scrap I picked up off the ground, and I'm guessing it's probably somewhere around 1060, 1065, and because it sparks about like that. It has a good shower of sparks on it. Didn't know that until after I had the range drawn in 1/2 forge. I'm like, man, these are a little tough. I'm like, you know what, I bet you these are high carbon steel. And so they are. Lord and behold, there it is. So we will be punching the rivet hole tonight instead of drilling it after it's all said and done, just for ease of convenience and knocking them together, getting them fit and adjusted.
Martin from MS Blades says, Roy, is it easier to make tongs with flat stock?
That depends on who you ask, Martin. I believe that it is a very quick and efficient way of making tongs out of flat stock. And the reason why I say that is because of the mass that you have to overcome. Usually, or in generally, if you're doing all drawn out reins in something like 5/8 square material or 3/4 inch round bar, the amount of energy you have to exert to draw out those reins is a lot harder than the amount of energy that you have to put on 1/4x1 flat stock. At least it feels that way. Whether it actually is or not, that's my opinion. That's the way it feels. Now I draw all mine out. I take the shortcut pass. I have a power hammer, so I use the power hammer to draw out my reins, and so that becomes a bit of a moot point. I have drawn these out by hand before, and like I said, if I had it to do 1/4x1 flat stock to draw out a rein on, or 5/8 square bar to draw out reins on, I would go with the 1/4x1 flat stock. The other benefit is all your layout is fairly easy. The boss pretty much takes care of itself. There's no left turn method involved in it, and so I personally appreciate that. Any other questions?
All right. I think no other questions just yet. Everybody's just kind of saying hello and Easter Friday. And
yeah, happy Easter to everyone. Happy Easter for those who celebrate.
Ben Toombs says he has his beverage and popcorn.
Good. Settle in for a long one, Ben. Settle in for a long one. Well, it won't actually be that long. These are fairly simple to make, except for this is a lot tougher, so you might see me sweat a lot more on these.
Break out into a sweat.
Yep. Real quick, how everybody like this new anvil orientation?
Oh yeah,
So So what I've done is I've changed up the orientation. Olga, old girl, was switched the opposite way to begin with to facilitate getting YouTube video shot originally, but I didn't have a camera that had a wide enough focal length to focus on the anvil, and so I pretty much switched it and put it out dead center of the shop. Now I've switched it back to where I can stand on the rubber mat and hammer, and you kind of get more of the picturesque backdrop back here.
Yeah, yeah. You can see the flame in the corner there.
You can see the flame in the corner.
Yeah,
so.
all the lovely hammers and tongs.
Yep.
Ben Toom says I like it.
Okay, good. Don't
Josh
be afraid
Wright,
to give
love
me
it.
honest feedback either. So if you think it's horrible, let me know. I'm always trying to improve.
Let's see, Brian Neely. I'm ready for exploding Easter eggs, April Fool's Day, and all that. Oh, yeah, it is. It's Easter and April Fool's. That doesn't happen too often.
So a couple real quick tips of how I found out that this was high carbon tool steel. And I just proceeded on anyhow. I had already drew out the reins, which you can't really feel. It doesn't act a whole lot different under the power hammer. You can't tell it as much other than it's a little slower progress. But one thing, the higher carbon tool steel, it heats quicker. It will heat up quicker and it will burn more readily than what mild steel will. And so I had this other piece in the fire, and you know, I didn't burn it or anything, but I kind of had just put it in, was cranking along. I'm like, it's mild steel, but I'll check it, and it was already like hot. It was already up at almost a welding temp when I pulled it out. So it's just something to keep in mind. That's one way of checking it. The other way, if you're not sure, the best thing to do is spark test it before you even get started. You can spark test it and it throws off a lot of them little firecrackers at the end of the streaks. You know it's higher carbon tool steel. And you may want to save it for something else besides making tongs.
Yeah. Dan Boyles, always made my tongs from 5/8 inch, but today I made a pair from 1/4 inch by 1 and agree, much easier to draw out the reins. No power hammer here.
Well, that's good. Good to know.
Let's see, XXX Rattler. I need to make some more tongs. All I have is some 3/8 inch round from Coil Springs. Should I start on the reins first and then square up the boss and jaws before I shape them?
So all you have is 3/8 inch round coil spring that you're going to be making them out of. Oh. If you're going to be making them out of 3/8, you're going to have to upset quite a bit of material on the end. Because 5/8 inch thick, unless they're going to be made for holding really small stock, 5/8 inch square, if you will, is about your minimum for making tongs. That'll hold up. Now, if they're making small stuff, so like, I've got a pair here. Let me find them. These here, I made actually out of 1/2 inch square stock. Okay? I made those out of 1/2 inch square stock,
yeah,
but they're made to hold like 1/8 inch material.
Yeah, those are pretty small when it comes to tongs.
They're fairly small. The bosses are really small, and so that worked out okay out of 1/2 inch square. But you're going to have to bump up your material quite a bit on the end for like at least 4 inches.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Matt Branscombe, somewhat new to your channel. What does the green tape on the tongs behind you mean? Those are just so Roy can identify his tools when he takes them to demonstrations and classes.
Yep, classes, workshops, demonstrations, things like that. I can locate my tools at a glance than the club or the organization or wherever I'm at.
Steve Jenkins, has the Sofa Forced Air Burner class been canceled? I don't see it listed on the Sofa site anymore.
Yep, Steve. Hey, good to have you part of the live stream, sir. Glad you could catch it. Yeah, it was taken down. There wasn't enough interest. It was an expensive. It was going to be an expensive burner to build with instructors' cost, and I couldn't get the cost of the blowers and the regulators and hoses any cheaper. So. Those right there combined was going to be about $130 for just that alone, not to mention my instructor time, the stuff for the materials for the club, lunch, all that good stuff that goes into it. So we didn't have a lick of interest, or no paid interest, I should say.
Yeah.
All right, this is hot enough. I'm going to start forging on it.
All right.
So the first trick in this, we're going to set down the jaws. And so what we're working on is this portion here. We're going to draw out this portion of the material. Later on, like I've done in all my tong videos, I will hammer and offset this boss and dress it back into the reins. So that will come after I hammer out this section here. And then I'll also do a little bit of shaping on it then too before I offset the boss. If that makes sense. And then we'll punch it and get it going. You keep reading questions, honey.
All right, sure. Kendall Yale, do you have to put refractory cement over 2-inch cable?
That is a health concern, so you should be putting a refractory, some sort of rigidizer over your K-wool because of the health implications. Alright, since this is high carbon steel, that's about all I'm going to get in this heat. This is mild, I could keep taking it down, but I'd like to not have a crack in it, so. Can they see that okay?
Yep, that shows.
Alright.
Let's see, before I move the camera, Matt Branscombe says, what's the tool on the side of the anvil? So, as you'll notice, Roy's got quite a few tools, yeah.
This tool?
That, yeah, maybe.
That is my pointer finger. This is how I point at material. You okay?
Yeah. There we go. Yep.
Can they see that there?
Yep.
So this is, I have a demonstration where I actually forged this whole thing out in the demo. But everybody was getting on to me about me getting my hands, because I don't have sensitivity, hot, cold in my hands, that I was getting my hands too close to the steel, and I should probably, like, not do that.
Not burn his hand.
So I went ahead and made myself a little sacrificial hand that I could point at the steel. And this will last a lot longer than my human digits.
Yeah.
So that's what that tool is.
It says, haha, sweet, love it. Let's see, Josh Wright, thank you for all the instruction. I'm a new guy and have learned so much from watching you and so much from watching others on YouTube.
Good, awesome. What was his name again? Josh?
Josh Wright.
Josh Wright, glad to have you part of the channel. I'm glad you're learning. That's what it's all about. We're all learning. Go ahead.
Paul Wharton says, I noticed that some of your tongs have square reins. Is there a reason for this as opposed to round reins?
Well, I can interject my own opinions here. But most of my tongs that I make, unless I have not made them, in most cases, have square reins, or rectangular, if you will. And I also, you'll notice, I like very long reins on there. There's another benefit to that as well. I should probably do a whole video on why I do my tongs the way I do. But what I have found with rounded reins is that they have a tendency to have a lot more give in them, sponginess, than what square reins do. Square reins have more of a spring to them because you're trying to resist. If anybody's ever tried to bend a piece of flat stock on edge, you know it resists that quite a bit, right? But if you try to bend a piece of round bar stock, there's no surface area there to prevent you from doing that, right? All surface planes are the same, so they're all under equal tension. So when you bend it, it just collapses on itself. So that's why I build them more rectangular. They look square, but they're more rectangular than anything, especially on my newer tongs. And if you look at the ones I'm making now, these are designed this way for a purpose. So they have a rectangular cross-section to them, and it is also a distilled taper. So it's a taper all the way from the boss, or the hinge joint of the tongs, all the way to the end of the tongs, down to about 3/8 or so. Sometimes I go a little less than 3/8 inch. I go down to like 1/4 or something like that. out at the end, or 6 mil or 9 mil, respectively. And the reason for that being is it's the same way like if you were going to take and make a mild steel spring for something. You do not want the surface tension to be the same across the entire piece, otherwise it buckles. If you make a long distilled taper out of it, you can get that springiness to it, that rigidity to it, and it always flexes back.
Champ Ironworks asks why you don't upset the ends of your reins.
There's no purpose for me upsetting the ends of my reins. I mean, if you like a ball on the end of them, some guys like that, so this way, you know, you don't get jabbed. What I believe that started out as, if I'm not mistaken, could be mistaken, what that started out as is, you know, you're putting a round ball on there, because if you ever get it under a power hammer and it knocks back, you could skewer your guts with it. So you put the round ball to help prevent that, but you should never be standing in front of your tongs like this under a power hammer. You should always keep the material out away from your side. And people have been done that way, by the way. Have a pair of tong handles shoved right through them because they got kicked back out of a power hammer.
You definitely want a taper on the end, a big pointy one.
We're good and hot, baby.
All right.
You can keep shooting questions.
All right. Josh Wright, thank you for the $1.99 super chat.
Thank you, Josh. Appreciate that.
Jim Bob the Impaler, no one likes upset reins, LOL.
Yeah, there's all sorts of styles of tongs out there. All sorts. You just have to pick what you like best. It's really up to you. Question.
Yes. John Lavender, he says, I have noticed several smiths flex their knees when they are working heavier metals. Is this to reduce shock to the lower back and knees, or is it better for more over and better aim?
Flex their knees.
Yeah.
Is that what you asked?
Yes, about if that reduces stress on your back.
Is this at the anvil or is this at the power hammer?
Yeah, he said when working heavier metals.
So working heavier metals, so I've seen it two different ways. I guess the clarification will help. If you stand at a power hammer and you're working on materials, it's best not to at any point have locked legs, locked knees, because you just become a harmonic tuning fork for all that hammer and concussive force. So always you should stand fairly comfortable, you know, don't lock out your knees wherever you're at, okay? Some guys do this, don't have problems with it. I can't do it, it bugs my back too much. For that answer, if you see guys working heavy stock at the anvil and they're swinging a hammer or there's something like that, a lot of that is a habit, it's not needed. You'll see them come down like, you know, you'll see them come down like almost squat down when they come down with a hammer blow like that. And that's the theory behind it, is that they're getting that like that extra little bit of force into it. But once it contacts that material, you're not going to squeeze it with your hands anymore. So keep a good upright posture, and then, you know, use the handle like it was intended, and everything will go fine that way. But even at that, you should have a relaxed stance when you're hammering. Nothing locked out. Don't get too tightened up and tense. In other words.
Welcome, Will Darby. This is a live video. And no, there's no green screen or CGI. That's a real fire you see over there. So, yep, this is all real time.
Yeah, welcome. Okay, so real quick recap. We are making a pair of rivet tongs tonight. Now, I don't use them for rivets because I don't do rivet work. I'll just repeat it again. But I use them to hold these little short tools. I like to call these like bob tooling. They're just like small, just real short tooling to do punches, stuff under the power hammer, working with a striker. These are really handy. You don't got to get your hand anywhere near it, things like that. And essentially they're just made to grip tooling. You can also use them to grip chain, like so. You can use them to grip this. I'll demonstrate that real quick. These aren't made for it, but you can see how that could be handy to manipulate chain link and the fire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that
so on
holds
and
it
so
really
forth, like that.
Mm-hmm.
Although I'd recommend a little differently, but you know, hey, there's that. But anyways, yeah, these are a little stiff.
Are they?
They're stuck up, but you can use them to do that with. You can hold tools. You can hold rivets, actual rivets, the heads of the rivet with them, like this, pulling them out of the fire, getting them inserted into the piece of material to be riveted in, and then you can rivet them. And so they're a fairly useful form. And that's what we're making this evening, for anybody who had interest.
Yeah. Oh, everybody's clued in.
Yeah, well, everybody's got it.
Yep, we got 64 people in here so far.
All right, thank you all for joining the stream. If you like this stream, remember to take and give it that like button. That helps it out. If you liked it, if you disliked it, go ahead and hit the thumbs down on it. That's cool too. Both ways are engagement, and we greatly appreciate that. So now this next portion that I'm going to be working on, I'll go ahead and go into this, and then Jessica can read me comments or whatever. Hopefully you guys can read on a diagonal here. I'll draw it out here.
Yeah.
Essentially what we're
a little closer.
going to be doing now, you can draw it right. So essentially we have this shape here, and what we're going to do is we're going to take about 1 inch of this material, or 25 mil from the end of the bar, and we're going to bend it at a 45-degree angle, like so. We're going to bend it down. Does it make sense? Then what we're going to do is we're going to hammer that back around slowly and create a very small cup in the end of it. And then that'll get forged down and refined over the horn a bit. Any questions?
All right, you guys got any questions about that? Let's see. Mike G, we appreciate you, Roy and Jess.
Awesome.
I'll let you know if anybody...
Thank you, Mike. We appreciate you.
Science Addict 77. Hey guys, just joining after closing up the forge and after doing my Warped Blacksmith Challenge.
Woohoo! That has to be fun. Glad to have you. Alright, so we're going to go over the anvil. I'm going to go ahead and set off 25 mil of material, or 1 inch, off the edge of the anvil and bend it down at a 45.
Okay.
Get it good and hot for this.
Martin says it looks like the start of a blade tong. Little smaller though.
No, not quite. Oh. But speaking of that, I do happen to have a special little video coming your way, Martin.
Uh-oh. You guys know what those are, don't you?
Those are kniff tongs. Kniff. That's your secret way out of the algorithm bugs there.
There you go.
They're kniff tongs. There we go. We just got that finished up, and I got a video on it. So.
Kniffer Knights.
Knights. Knights tongs. So, all right. So now we're gonna just roll this over, like I said. Take about 25 mil or so. And we just want to go at a 45-degree angle. Don't have to go crazy with this. Just make sure you do get an actual 25 mil out. Now I'm starting to start that little pocket. I don't know if anybody can see that.
Yeah, it's starting to...
So right in here, I'm starting to arch that back. You want this fairly short. You can make this really long if you got bigger tooling, but I'm leaving it very thick because my main purpose that I'm actually going to use these tongs for is chain link. So I want them to be fairly heavy to take the heat of forge welding. So I'm leaving the end of the jaw very thick for that. Otherwise, I could thin it down a lot more like these are.
Yeah, so you're going to leave them thick.
Yep. Questions?
Yes, there's some messages there about Twan. Everybody's just kind of sharing the updates on him, how his wife had surgery. But Ben Tombs said that he messaged him earlier this week, and Twan says everything's going good.
Good. Good.
So,
glad to hear it.
Yeah. Let's see. Martin says, look forward to seeing anything you two put out. Thank you for all your hard work and for the learning experience as well.
You're welcome.
Mike G, good looking so far, Roy.
Glad you like Mike G.
Josh Wright, gonna go dye some eggs with my boy, keeping you on in the background.
I appreciate that, Josh Wright. Thank you.
You'll have to
thank you for that.
You'll have to paint an anvil on an egg or something like that.
Yeah.
Pastor Josh Smith asked what the secret word of the day is. I don't think we're having any secret words right now.
Bird.
Unless
bird. Bird is the word. There is no secret word.
Yeah, that other thing.
Yeah,
it's
the kniff.
The kniff.
It's a kniff.
Yep. DZac1E, I'm a newbie learning a lot from you, and I appreciate your teaching style and attention to detail. Keep up the good work.
Awesome. Glad you're enjoying it. Thank you for being a part of the channel.
Robert Poglich had said, always like anyone who dislikes it, I'll break your fingers, LOL. Funny thing is, it only
Easy
shows...
there, Robert.
Yeah. See the little guy holding up his hand? He only has one thumb.
He only has one thumb?
Like, you can't see the other fingers, so...
Oh, man. I'm glad I've got that vehement of support out there.
Robin Cottle says, I like watching and learning, but I've never attempted any blacksmithing.
Well, I'm glad you're watching and learning anyhow. And if you get the chance to take a class or anything like that, it can be a really fun thing to get started into. There's quite a few people who are doing it. Ready?
Yep, ready.
Alright, so all I'm doing here is I'm just trying to reverse that bend that I put in it. And we're just trying to work that down into that shape there. And now we'll go refine it on the horn, right at the tip of the horn, and work down just the tip of the material. Now I won't go too far with this because I'll end up finish all this shaping later on after the piece is fully done. But that's what we're after, roughly. Went a little deeper with that other side, but like I said, we'll be able to adjust that once we get them closer. This side here needs to be curled just a fuzz more. But then again, I don't really need to worry about that too much because when this tong goes into this tong here, I'll heat it up for that final heat and grip a piece of bar stock, say 1/2 inch bar stock, round, right in here and just finish forming them.
Kendall says, stop yelling, Roy. You're going to hurt your voice. We can hear you, LOL.
Sorry about that.
He's used to projecting his voice when doing demos.
Yeah, sorry about that. You know, one of the things I need to get better at, I need to get a lapel mic. That's number one. Number two, I need to get an amp and a speaker of some sort whenever I teach blacksmithing demonstrations or I teach blacksmithing classes. Because I come home at the end of a class or the end of a demonstration and my throat's just wore out.
Yeah.
Because you get in a room, you think it's fairly easy, but you get in a room of 60, 70, 100 people and you start having to project your voice. It wears you out more than what blacksmithing ever could. I mean, whoo! It wears you out.
Yeah, Champ Ironworks says new mic, LOL.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately the mic we have doesn't work with the cell phone, but we're trying to change up our live streaming setup a bit. So
speaking of which, we'll just show. I'm going to show off the mic. So,
okay.
So because of the generosity of the super chatters and things of that nature, we were able to buy a microphone.
Just a moment. It's over there digging through the camera box.
Yep. And so we were able to get this little beauty here. So this is a shotgun mic. It's made by Rode. It's called the Video Mic Go. And so far, I haven't got any videos released that actually have this on it. But so far, pretty impressed with the quality of the audio. It's kind of night and day. Instead of picking up a lot of the outdoor noise and things, it really picks up my voice pretty darn good when it's pointed at me. And really good microphone. So we were able to get that. We did buy a lapel mic, but we came to find out it didn't work with our camera.
Yeah, it's
and so we had to
Sony
turn
brand.
it back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not universal.
Yeah, it wasn't universal, so we had to return the lapel mic. The only thing I don't like about these microphones and stuff, me being a blacksmith, is that they're plastic. Everything's plastic these days. I break things that are plastic, so hopefully that don't happen.
John McCann, was that a troll? You're right, it was a troll sighting, but he wasn't here long, was he?
What happened?
Somebody popped in with some silly saying, and I took care of it. So,
Oh, really?
Yep, they're gone.
Well, that's how that happens.
Pastor Josh Smith says, did y'all watch Chandler Dickinson's One Piece Tong video?
No, I have not seen his One Piece Tong video yet. I've been quite busy with orders here lately, so I have not been much on YouTube. I've been here and there, but just for a moment or so.
To the end.
Yeah. It's okay.
Let's see. Do you want any questions, or do you want to explain?
No, you can give me some questions.
Okay. Red Hot Metal. Roy, do you have experience with power hammers powered by a separate air compressor?
Yes, a little bit. If you're asking for technical advice on them, that is an area that I lack in. So, probably would not be the guy to ask. But as far as working on them, using them, I do. A guy that would be really good to ask about maybe their workings, their going-ons, would be John Switzer at Black Bear Forge. You may want to check him out. I do believe he has several what they call a utility air hammers. That's what they're called. They're not self-contained air hammers, they're utility air hammers. I have forged under both. What's up?
John McCann says it was kind of amazing to see the tongs from One Piece actually. And let's see. Oh, Robert Poglich says love Chandler's well.
Yeah. And
Pastor Josh Smith, I thought the final results on his tongs were pretty great once he realized that the illustration was wrong. So again, I haven't seen the video. So.
I'm going to have to go watch the video now.
Yeah, yeah.
Ladies and gents. Oh.
Let's see. Ben Toombs. Yeah, John has a really good channel and he's got a pretty good lapel mic.
Yep, he does. In fact, we tried to buy that exact lapel mic. And come to find out, it only works with the Canon. Is it Canon?
I think it's Sony.
Sony Handycam is what it is. That's what he films on, and we've got a Panasonic Lumix G7, and yep, it was camera specific. So.
Yep. Mike Lowry, do we have a Facebook? Yes, we do. It's just search us, Christ Centered Ironworks, although I am the one who checks the messages there and refers it to Roy if I can't answer it.
Yeah. I am no longer on Facebook. I'm not an active participant.
Let's see, Richard Ironworks. Hello, Jessica and Roy. A little late because I was brushing my latest lily. Thanks again, Roy.
You're welcome, Richard Ironworks.
Very specific there. I like
Good to know you're brass brushing your lilies out there.
Let's see. Robin Cottle. I started with Modern Blacksmith and Dave Canterbury. I love all the blacksmith channels.
Cool. There's a lot you can pick up from everybody out there. You just got to be willing to listen and maybe try a new ideal.
Let's see. Devaka Maker says, project suggestion, forge a mic bracket.
That would be good, wouldn't it?
That would be an interesting one, huh?
Maybe when I upgrade to a new microphone, I'll do that with the old microphone. Make a new bracket for it. Or, in my luck, it'll probably break and that will probably be an actual project at some point in time.
Science Addict 77. Roy, thanks from us at Forging at Ford for name dropping us left and right. Between you and DF in the shop, I think we're nearly up to 2,000 members.
Man, that is awesome. Good to hear it. Good to hear it. We need more Facebook groups like Forge at Ford when it comes to that.
Champ Ironworks, you ask where Roy get his spark? If you're referring to the actual drink mix, yeah, we're just distributors through Avocare.
Yep.
Martin says, Roy, do you hunt or fish?
I used to hunt, I used to fish, but now I blacksmith and YouTube for people.
Yeah, that's a new hobby.
That's my new hobby.
Profession? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I used to hunt all the time, and I used to actually go fishing a good bit before we had kids. We haven't done a lot of fishing here lately. I think we get out about once a year, don't we, honey?
Yeah.
And my hunting is concerned mainly like once a year, and even at that, I usually don't ever get anything. I just like sleep in the woods. I'm not even trying, really.
Sitting out there taking a nap.
I just enjoy how peaceful things are. So I let all the little woodland creatures continue to carry on as usual. All right, ready to go over here?
Yes, ready. Thank you for the heads up.
All right. Alrighty. So now we're going to create our offset on our boss and dress it down to our tong reins. I need that to be moved a little bit.
Alright, sorry. Back it up. I want to smack the camera with a hammer. Let's see. Tim Rollins. Hi from North Alberta. Love the videos and keep up the good work. Thank you, Tim.
And thank you, Tim. I'm glad you love the videos. Thank you for stopping in from Alberta. I think that's Alberta, Canada.
Ken Toon says, yeah, I almost got hit in the eye.
You're welcome. That little place I'm putting in there has no point other than the fact that I accidentally got it on the other pair of tongs, so I'm putting it on this half as well. That way they don't look goofy. Voila.
Voila.
So I'll have to do some final adjustment of this one here, but that's okay once they're together. Get my final fit up on them. So go ahead and get him punched.
Troll, Friday night trolling, Devaka Maker. Yeah, I think that's the third troll tonight that we had to say goodbye to. JG Clark says I have a fast finger. Gotta get to him quick.
Hey, JG Clark. Is it smoking?
That's right, flamin'.
It's flaming quick.
Hello, Thomas Urso.
Hello, Thomas Urso. Alright, where am I at?
Josh Wright. Haven't even started dyeing eggs. My son is already covered in dye. Aren't kids awesome? That's like where you strip them down into their underwear and you just stick them in the shower afterwards.
Yep. Or better yet, you dye eggs in the shower.
Or outside, even better, if it's warm enough where you're at.
Yep. All right. So now I'm going to be using a punch, and the goal here is just to punch a 3/8 inch hole, and hopefully just a fuzz, a smidge undersize would be great, just enough to hold the rivet very tightly when it gets put in there. So I've got my punch and a soft face hammer.
All right, you sound like you're set up then.
Oh, do I?
You do.
Well, there you have it. Jessica believes I know what I'm doing.
I do. More than I do.
Alright. What else we got in the chat?
Alright, we got some more people dying eggs. Chris Malik, sweet, just did 2 eggs and got out of there. Didn't want to be any part of that cleanup.
Hey.
Yeah, got a jet, like right in the middle,
Yeah.
you know.
Great avoidance. Great avoidance.
Don't wait till the end.
Wife might not be happy, but great avoidance.
Thomas Urso says he's in South Carolina with grandbabies. Life is good.
It's always good. Any day that you're this side of the pavement, that's good.
That's right. Nikki Hughes, if all these trolls would get out of their mom's basement and do something productive, we would be a lot better off.
He must be referring to trolls.
Yes, he is.
Oh. Alright, I'm going to punch some holes here. So I'll hopefully hold this still enough that this will work out fine. We're going to want to do most of our punching from the outside in. We'll flip it. Aim for a dot.
Oh, very nice.
Just like that.
Let's see. Mel W44. Has anybody built your beam hammer?
What's up?
They asked if anybody's built our beam hammer yet. I'm not sure.
I'm not
There's
sure.
still plans of it, but nobody's updated us specifically on that.
Alright, so now you can see that this here is a little big. We're going to need to take and just drift that just a fuzz. And what I suggest is to bring it up to a very dull red heat, a very dark heat, and do that final little bit of drifting. It's very easy with a punch to take and go too far. And then you just got a rivet that falls in and out. A rivet joint is only as good as tight as the hole that you punch through the material. Because if this isn't really nice and tight in there, what'll happen is the rivet will cant in the material like that. And then it all goes to one side or the other.
Mark S. says punching. It's a holy moment.
Pun heavy.
Yes.
Pun heavy.
Hey, we love blacksmithing puns.
Alright, I'm about to be punching again, so you
Okay.
can just stay where you're at.
Well, then I will go back down. That was fast.
Well, that's what happens when you have a ball in there.
Yeah. Science Addict 77 says you get the drift, Mark S.
Aim for the bullseye. Get that little slug off there. That way I don't throw it across the room at Jessica. I'm sure that's appreciated.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that. Probably like go right down my boot too.
Yep. Now if you'll see, this is about the heat. I'm going to drift it out a little bit bigger so it can fit the rivet.
It's about a dull red.
Yep. Now let's see if that rivet will fit. Ooh, so close. I keep dropping that rivet all over the place. I swear I've done this before. Keep knocking that back. Okay, that's good there. So Okay, I think this rivet's got a little bit of extra rust on it. Let me move it out of the way.
All
Get a
right.
different one.
Leon Scott, I'm glad you're enjoying the live stream. Kendall, our oldest is almost, she's probably about old enough to do a little bit of forging. She's going to be 8 this summer.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be better.
That's going to work better.
Yeah, get that drifted out there. A little bit better. Careful, don't push that too much.
Champ Ironworks, why use the soft face hammer?
The reason why I use a soft face hammer is because when I harden my tools, I actually harden both ends in most cases. So that way you stop the mushrooming effect. So you only have to change one tool over about 2 or 3 years versus 50 tools over 2 or 3 years.
That makes sense.
Economy of time.
Mark S says, almost like you need a set of rivet tongs.
Yeah, almost. Alright, this drifted out a little bit better on this one.
Thomas Ursa says, I'm building a power hammer using Roy's plans. Awesome, Thomas.
Yep, good to know, Thomas. You'll have to let us know how that goes.
Yeah, if you can always hashtag us on Facebook or Instagram too on your build, and we can check into that.
So now I got that one just a little bit big. Close that down. If you do it right, if you do this right, what'll end up happening is that hole there, if you've drifted it just right, it will actually shrink up around the one half of the rivets. And then you can put both halves together a lot easier. If you do it right. If you don't do it right, it never shrinks up in there, and, well, you get the benefits of that. It never shrinking up in there.
Yeah. Nikki Hughes, meant to congratulate you on the hammer for Chandler's $660. You did an awesome thing there.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I was glad of all the people that went and showed their support that way. That was good.
Robin, Roy's shop is about 12 by 20. And he's busting at the seams with tools. Some of his stuff he stores in a storage shed.
Yeah, just a wee bit too many tools.
Or too little space. However you put that.
Yeah. Right amount of tools, not the right amount of space. All right.
B&B Forge. I hope I will get to the point where I can make a pair that fast and nice looking.
Keep up the practice and you will. Tongs, there's no real secret to tongs. It's just taking your time, doing a clean job of it. And then that's about it, just taking your time. So now that I've got these, pretty much got both the holes drifted out, rivets in there. These two faces here don't quite contact together. But that's going to be okay because in the middle they contact. And that's all that matters. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my rivet header, my little rivet set here, and I'm going to cold set this rivet. Then I will put all this back in the fire, heat it all up, and then I will use my top set, rivet set, that I've also made in a video. All this I've made in videos before. All you have to do is check my playlist section on riveting. It's a riveting playlist section, and as many puns as you can think of. And then I will just use this to drive down that rivet to create a nice ball on the other side as well. So I'll go ahead and get this set first.
Martin says, how long should you aim for a rivet to be before you peen it to the piece?
It depends on what type or style head you're doing for the rivet, usually. But if you're doing a domed head rivet and not a flush rivet, it's usually 1.5 times the diameter of the rivet sticks out the other side of the material. If that's too complicated or I'm not worrying about this, something that's a little more sure to bet is I do whatever the diameter of the material is, I do that sticking outside of the rivet, out the other side of the tongs. So like if I'm cutting off a piece of 3/8 inch round bar, I will stick out 3/8 cubed of material out this side, 3/8 cubed of material out this side.
Zach1E says, can you use a brass hammer on punches or is it too soft?
Yep, you most certainly can. You know, a brass hammer, if you use a brass hammer on punches, most likely you're just going to deal with more deformation on the hammer than you would with a soft base mild steel hammer. So you'll just deal with a little bit more mushrooming and stuff, but it's the same effect. You might just have to trade out hammers a little sooner is all.
Do you want me to?
Huh?
Do you want me to relift the camera, or is it gonna take you a few minutes?
It's going to take a minute to get it hot.
Okay. Leon Scott, what kind of gloves do you use?
The gloves that I use most, or the ones I'm using tonight, more specifically, and I use these all the time, are the Tillman 50Ls. So it's like 50, I don't know what the 50 stands for, but I know they're large. The L is for large, and they're a Tillman brand glove. I picked them up at my local Weiler welding supply place. So, they are not sponsoring this stream. That's just what I use. Hashtag not sponsored.
There you go. Robin Caudell says, yeah, I have a 20 by 20 wood shop, but I'm working on a 14 by 20 metal shop. If you're just getting into blacksmithing, that'll last you for a really long time.
Yep. And if you've been at it a while, you know better. You should be building a 50 by 100.
There you go. Martin says, Roy, I asked already, do you have any idea on when you will have the rolling mill plans available? Build-in plans.
It won't be till late this year or early spring next year. That's probably most likely on that. I've got several other projects underway right now. One of them is a very large forge. I've got materials in for it. I need to get it started. It's a gas forge. I've got a new shop power hammer build that I'm going to be doing. There'll be plans available on it as well. There's also another experimental power hammer, pretty much for home builders or building in their own home shop, that I've got on the go this year. And all that can be looked for more towards the fall after Quad State, which is in the last weekend of September.
Graham Pepper, $2 super chat. He says, I can't heat the middle of my metal to make tongs. What kind of forge are you using, Graham? He says he can't heat the middle of his metal to make tongs.
You can't heat the middle of your metal to make tongs. Tag us up there, Graham. Thank you for the $2 super chat. Let me know what you mean by that. Heat the middle of your metal.
Leon Scott, we have a $15 super chat.
Hey, thank you, Liam Scott.
He says, we appreciate all the great info.
You're very welcome, sir. We really do appreciate all the love that we get on this channel every single day. You all are very awesome out there. And we really do appreciate that.
Graham said he was using a gas forge.
Okay, yeah, with a gas forge, if you're trying to get the middle of it hot, you're probably getting hot spots on each end of it. You may need to brick in your door. If you're trying to get the whole piece hot, sometimes a lot of gas forges where they're coming in from the top, or when they're venturis coming in from the side, you'll have two hot spots and the center will be cold. And that's because that air gets in there and it circulates out and comes out the front door. If that's not your case, if you're just saying that it's hard to get the heat where you want it, that's for gas.
He says it's too shallow.
Oh, it's too shallow of a forge. Okay. You may think about popping a hole in the back end of it. Just a little small, what they call like a mouse hole or a little window in the back. Just a little 2x2 square. And that's all you need. And you'll be able to slip stock between there a little bit better.
Ben Toom says, that's why I bought the 3-door burner, the 3-burner with the 2 doors. I know I don't need it right now, but in the future I will. Oh, you're planning ahead.
Good.
That's good.
Yeah, plan ahead. So, all right. So I've got this rivet set. Now I'm going to go ahead and put it in the rivet die block. It's good and hot. And I want to drive it home.
All right. John McCann says, sounds like a lot of good projects coming.
Yes, there is. Or should be, hopefully. Okay. Dropping all the tools and the tools that I need. Isn't that lovely? Oh. All right. So now after we got that set up, now we adjust our tongs over to meet one another in this step. I'm just putting the little offset in them. So you see? I'm going to tap those together. Good. Good.
Gotta work them loose.
Yep, now we gotta work them loose.
Mark S says, the new shop layout's throwing you off. That's what it was. That's why he
Yeah, that's what it is. Or it could be I'm just not that good of a smith. That's probably more like it.
Let's see here. Tobacco maker. So no setting now the boss. Just offset the jaws. I think I could do that.
Yep. It makes it a lot easier. Or at least I think so. So there you go.
Looks like the start of a Muppet. That's what Ben Toom says.
The start of a Muppet, eh? Alright, now let's see if they hold my design stock. There you go.
Hello, 6-year-old
Good.
Joshua Jr. He's watching with his dad.
Awesome. Good to have you. Alright. I should be able to whoop, something like that. Be able to hold that. Yeah. I need to get a little space in there. I want to do it the correct way here. Yep. So I got a little bit of adjustment to do to turn them where I want them. What I need is I need a little more space in this area. So this way you can take your chain that you've already welded, have it in this area, and grip the end of the link you're working on. Like so. So you can keep threading the chain essentially out towards the end. But we might adjust that here a little bit. First, I need to make sure I adjust those in a little bit better. Be a little closer.
Let's see. Curtis McPherson just finished a ribbon burner forge, 20 by 20. It's amazing.
Ooh. That sounds like it'll kick out the heat.
Yeah. Let's see. Someone had asked a little bit earlier about your preference for cranking blower versus an automatic one.
My preference for this, well, one, my wife bought me this forge, so that puts a pretty big preference in my mindset towards it. But my other preference for this forge, where it comes into its own, is when I'm doing things like forge welding. I can really fine-tune my airflow that's going into the fire, and it makes it a little easier to control. That's one of the reasons why I like the hand crank. The other reason why I like the hand crank is without an electric blower or a noisy blower going on, you guys can hear me pretty well. So, you know, I don't have to shout so much, things like that. It's a little quieter. If I had the space in the shop to kind of do it really neat-like and the know-how to make it, I would make myself a pair of bellows. Just because I find them neat and I love the sound of them when they run. That, it almost sounds... I like that sound. More nostalgia than anything. But as far as when this doesn't come in handy, is when you have really large chunks of material you need to heat up, you're going to get a workout cranking.
Science Addict 77, my dad is telling me that our industrial surplus place in Cleveland has a couple of knee presses for $350. Tempting, very tempting.
Knee presses.
A knee press.
Not sure what a knee press is. You'll have to enlighten me, sir. Alright, I'm going to adjust these.
Alright.
Get the anvil.
Down to the anvil.
Yep. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust these nibs back together a little better.
Roger Turley says, I'm planning on making a forge out of an old propane bottle. Funny thing, that's one of the first videos we did on our channel.
Yep.
Oh, there's your joke, Science Addict. I was looking for it. Alright, he said a joke earlier. He said, what did the blacksmith do when he heard his house was getting broken into? He made a bolt for the door.
There's always one jokester in the house.
There is. That's alright, that lightens the mood. Let's see, Pastor Josh Smith, thanks for joining us. Hope you have a wonderful evening.
Yep, thanks for joining us. Chopping these all up here. Getting them about right. Trying to get them right. Went a little too far on these, but... And I'm not working with mild steel, so it's kind of a pain in the butt, but...
Yeah.
I need to get those just a little tighter yet to where they'll grip, so I need to adjust my reins out. And that's about perfect on the fit of the radius, but now I need to adjust my reins because they're hitting back here before the jaws are closed. Mm-hmm. And then those should grip perfectly. By the way, whatever you grip with hot tongs is going to also be hot.
Doug Franklin, he says, I have an old Army engineer Buffalo pole forge. It's cool, but needs a little work.
Oh, let's see. Are those, I think those are the type that, are they like the box ones that the cavalry would use?
Let's see here. What will you, oh, Martin says, what will you do so they don't get hard and break when you're using them, Roy?
I won't harden them. And I won't use these to dip in water. That's be the only thing that will make them harden up. So I'll get it nice and heated up, and then when I'm done, I'll just let it rest on the side of the fire and cool down naturally. That's about it. And if I've done a proper job forging, or a proper enough job forging, I should say.
There it goes. It's like not level if it's turned that way or something.
There's something wrong with this anvil.
He dropped more tools.
Stay.
It's like wobbling. It's deciding if it's gonna roll off. Yeah, Doug Franklin said yes. It's missing the lid, and I need a hand crank to fit a hand crank blower to it.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen those type forges before. I think they're pretty neat.
The floor is probably unlevel, Ben Toombs. Christian Appelvist. Hi there from Sweden, like the hat.
Glad you like the hat.
The Beard and Hammer, be well folks, gotta run, happy tong making.
Hey Beard and Hammer, good to have you by. You well as well? Oh, tonight's not my night for keeping things in hand. What did I say? This hat, if you want to know where you can get it at, you can research Wilson Leather online, and they have a SCAD of them. So,
Mel W44 says, someone left the gravity on.
yeah, that's what it is.
Tobacco maker, magnet glove. There you go. Never drop your tools. We'll never be able to put them down either. But
So here all I'm doing is I'm trying to get this set just a bit more. When you do too much adjusting on them, if you've got to play with them quite a bit, what you'll end up happening on you is they will tighten up. They will tighten up, and you won't be able to get the, it'll loosen, is what I'm trying to say, not tighten up. That it will loosen the rivet after a while if you do too much heating and playing on this after you get them together. And so you just have to remember to just tighten the rivet back up a little bit. Takes a few seconds, but it gets it tight. So we got those pretty much together. I'll just grab it over here in the vise. Jessica can
relocate.
I'm being horrible tonight as a demonstrator, not telling Jess where I'm going. And then here I'm just going to pull out the reins just a fuzz, just to give them some tension. Just like so. And those are pretty much done. We'll go back over here and brush them.
Okay. Back over here.
Back over here.
Granddad Forge said he'll be willing to take that defective anvil off your hands.
There's a lot of people who'd be willing to take the defective anvil off my hands, so I would get rid of the shop before I get rid of the anvil.
Graham Pepper just spent $160 on new Teespring shirts. I don't know if that was all of ours or just different people you support in general, but it sounds like you're going to have a whole new wardrobe.
If it was ours, woohoo! Oh, I forgot one crucial thing. My touch mark.
Oh yeah, gotta have
So
that.
I'll have to heat this up, and I usually stamp my touch mark right on the inside. Like right in there. I'm doing a bad thing. I'm supposed to use this. Right in here is where I'll use the touch mark.
Graham said it's all our shirts. Oh, thank you, Graham.
Thank you
Really
very
nice
much
of you.
for that, Graham.
For anybody who's in the one with the ice cream, we can't all be the flavor of the day. I did get that shirt done. That shirt is on our Teespring store. I got the link down in the comments below. I've been working on the Teespring store.
Yeah, and it's on its way to our house, or it will be, if it hasn't already, it will be tonight, because I want that shirt myself.
Yeah.
We can't all be the flavor of the day. So.
Yeah.
It's like the story of my life. Graham, thank you so much for that, buddy. Really do appreciate that.
Let's see, Davey Codfish, he says, what type of steel do you usually use when making tooling? I like for tongs and such. I'm just starting off.
For tongs, I always use mild steel. I'm not sure what I'm going to do a video on it once I actually get it in-house. There was a guy who told me what the makeup is of like tongs and the different stuff. There's a specific tool steel that they use that's a really tough steel. It doesn't necessarily get hard. I've got to order some in and do some testing on it. But long story short, I use a lot of mild steel in my shop for tooling. And mainly that's because a lot of the jobs I do are custom, and so they require a one-off thing, or they need one tool. And that tool needs to serve its purpose for that job, and that's it. If it's something that I'm going to use on a lot of different jobs and a lot of different things, I will make it out of higher carbon steel. Mainly 1045 or 1095 tool steel. But tongs, I always make them out of mild steel because I don't care who you are, even if it's your own shop, eventually you're going to have some chucklehead. Take your tongs you made out of high carbon steel, get them hot, and quench them in a bucket of water someday. And they're going to snap, and you're going to be unhappy.
Oh, yeah.
And you can blame yourself because he didn't know that they were high carbon steel. Mild steel, I make enough tongs. I go through tongs over the course of a couple years, and I just keep recycling them. My old tongs I give away. They're still in good shape, but I make new tongs and then give away my old ones. And I just keep that cycle going every year or two. I give away tongs and then make new tongs. Passing it along.
Let's see, there's kind of a combo going on about 4140. What is a good use for it?
What is a good use for 4140? Don't know, never mess with the stuff much. I know a lot of people like to make dies, like power hammer dies out of it. A lot of guys like to make all sorts of steel, tool steel, implements, everything from set hammers to punches to you name it. People like to use it for a lot of hammers, things like that. It's a fairly popular material. It's a popular material I don't use much of, Lord and behold. Alright, so now just on the inside, put myself my logo. Little touch mark, cool it off.
Voila.
Voila. We're good to go. And now I'll finally do my last bit of brushing. And this should be done.
Doug Franklin asked if the word green refers to mild steel.
The word what?
Green? Like green steel?
Green steel. I'm not sure. I've never heard that saying before, referenced prospectively.
Oh, no, I think he's asking about the tape on the handles. No, that's just the way Roy keeps a hold of his tools at classes and workshops.
Yep, it's just a reference. And so this way, if I see somebody with this hammer in their hand, I know it's mine. And I can go retrieve it if necessary. So there we have it.
That's a beautiful pair of tongs.
Not too bad. So there's my touch mark. Can't really see it. It's meant to go on 1/4-inch stems. But it's essentially Olga here with a cross. Little cross in the center of it. Most importantly, on rather how pretty they are, that don't matter. Do they hold the material they were meant to do? And they do.
They do. They do their job. B&B Forge does an awesome job.
Yep, so there you have it.
Josh Wright, very nice.
Woo. And now with these, I just let them cool. I'll set them off the side of the fire.
No quenching. That's right.
No quenching them.
Josh Wright, are you going to make, let's see, what are you going to make out of those chain links?
I got a project. Well, I'm going to do a video. That's going to happen. I'm going to make a chain making video. I do have to make a different piece of tooling that goes in the hardy hole of the anvil, though. And it's a chain maker's bick. I'm going to do that. And then my goal is, and it may be ambitious, but I want to develop about 50 foot of chain like this. So it's going to take some time to do it, but just as kind of I've done it type thing. Yeah. Just to say I have.
These look like some stout chains.
More or less. Yep, they are. These were made out of 1/2-inch round bar. So, yep. That's the goal.
That is the goal.
All right.
All right, so is that it for tonight's live demo?
Yep, that's it. That's all I got for this evening.
Okay. Flip it around.
Yeah, let's flip it around here. We get talking. Yeah. Scaring them, huh?
I know. Sorry, you guys are facing a bunch of cords.
All right. There we go. Now I can see everybody.
Yeah.
All right. You're very welcome. Josh Wright, thank you very much for the super chat. Bless you for that. So what we're going to be doing, what my plan is for next live stream, and I wasn't underprepared this live stream, but I will get it done next live stream, hopefully. That's my goal. Next live stream, we are going to be working on the decorative nut that will attach our little miniature vise we're making, or our filer's vise, hand vise, if you will. And then we will also cut out the cheek pieces. So we've got this far on our little vise project. We've got that cleaned up. I plan on getting this all cleaned up if I can. Getting this all filed up. We have this portion of this done already, which is our screw portion. We've got the screw portion pretty much forged or rough forged. Now we have to work on the nut portion and get the outside body rough forged. And then that way that can be threaded. And then this can be threaded. And then there's got to be cheek pieces yet. And that will really conclude most of the forging, except for the decorative nut on bottom. So we are going to work on the cheek pieces next live stream. And we're going to work on the decorative nut that goes on back behind here to hold the two together. We're going to work on that in the next live stream is the goal.
So if you plan on being here, now
yeah.
you know.
You get and so, and for those that are just joining us, those that have just been new to the channel, we have our live streams every Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or Ohio time. So if you're somewhere else out there in the world and you want to catch this live stream, make sure you hit the Ohio time side of things. So, happy Easter to you, Josh White. Thank you all, by the way, for watching and everybody.
I was going to say, Dan made an interesting suggestion
what?
there. He said, yeah, Roy, give us the chain link dimensions and everybody get to send me a link. That could be interesting.
Yeah, I could do that.
You'd have to do all the ones in between that would connect them all, huh?
Yep. So this started off as a piece of 1/2 inch or 12.5 mil round bar stock and 8 inches long, whatever that is in metric. It's a bunch of them. Whatever it is at metric, but the overall length of the link is 3.5 inches long. That's the overall length. And the overall width of the link is 2 inches wide. So 3 inches or 75 mil long by 2 inches wide, or 50 mil wide overall.
Yeah, when you do that.
So that's the link. There we go. We just ended that call.
Can you see us?
Happy Easter, everybody. Can everybody still see us? Still talking?
Might have cleared up.
All right. We still here? Everybody see us?
Yeah.
Good.
Downside of getting phone calls when we're live streaming.
Yep. Downside of phone calls when we're live streaming. All right. Cool. Everybody can see us. So, yep. Chain length is. So, all right. Or if you make a tool, for instance, using a farrier's rasp, would you anneal the rasp multiple times? Rigid Ironworks, I would definitely take time to normalize it 3 or 4 good times, depending on what you're doing with it. If you don't know its life or its stress that it's had in that tool, I would go through the process of just normalizing it a couple times. So, yeah, we're back. Good. So, sorry we dropped out there. Whenever somebody gives us a phone call, it cuts our service on here, so interrupts the live stream. But anyway, so, yep, I hope everybody has a good Easter weekend. Thank you all for being part of this live stream. Thank you for everybody who donated in Super Chat. That really does bless us. Thank you, Graham, for all the shirt purchases. That's amazing. That blessed our evening. Thank you, sir, for that. That really does help the channel, and we promise to continue to improve. One of the big hopes that we're going for next, coming up soon, is to be able to start doing the live stream with my Lumex G7. So it'll be in 1080p, 60 frames a second resolution. So
so it'll be an interesting learning curve. But
so instead of my metal coming out and looking like a big white ball of fire, it'll actually look like the color it's supposed to. That way everybody can get a little bit better things on that.
Yep.
Yeah. So, happy Easter to everyone. Thank you all so much for being a part of this live stream. We really hope your family's blessed this Easter and that you guys have a great weekend. And we will catch you on next Friday night's live stream at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And once again, just thank you all from the bottom of our heart. We really do appreciate you showing up. So, God bless everyone. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.